Hey guys, welcome to the Daily Word Bible Study, a plain and simple, book by book, chapter by chapter, and verse by verse study of the entire Bible. Currently, we are in the book of Job, chapter 15, in this back and forth discourse. Now, there is some amazing bits of wisdom being spoken. The problem is the application is horribly misapplied. And kind of Job has kind of had it with his friend's wisdom. All right. So, chapter 15 in verse 1 says, Then Eliphaz the Temanite replied. Now, you remember they're taking turns. And at each reply, Job replies more, he gives them a longer reply than theirs, okay? Verse 2 says, Does a wise man answer with empty counsel, or fill himself with a lot of hot east wind? We would say hot air, right? I think too, sometimes you can see sometimes what some of the root of some of these words of wisdom we speak. Like we would say hot air, but notice he said right here, hot east wind. Should he argue with useless talk, or with words that serve no good purpose? But you even undermine the fear of God and hinder meditation before Him. I don't see how. And this is the kind of interesting thing right here is that they have now gone to just lodging accusation against him. He's simply speaking out of Job is simply speaking out of the anguish of their heart, and they seem to really be bothered by that. Verse 5, Your iniquity teaches you what to say, and you chooses the language of the crafty. Now, remember, God has already spoken concerning Job. They don't know it. Verse 6, Your own mouth condemns you, not I. Your own lips testify against you. How? Were you the first person ever born? Now, if we think about a timeline here, as far as a historic thing, when we think about the lifespan of Adam, and then that kind of time, remember they were living close to 1,000 years. I say that because if you look at it from a kind of a historical timeline, it would be something like if we say we go back to the 14th and 13th century. So my point is that there is history is kind of fresh with them. So Adam would have been the first person born. All right. He says, Were you the first person ever born? Or were you brought forth before the hills? Do you listen in on the counsel of God? Now, this is kind of very interesting because absolutely they don't, because they're not aware of chapters 1 and 2. Do you listen in on the counsel of God, or have a monopoly on wisdom? What do you know that we don't? What do you understand that is not clear to us? A lot. A whole lot. Both the gray-haired and the elderly are with us, men older than your father. Are God's consolations not enough for you? Even the words that deal gently with you? Why has your heart misled you? And why do your eyes flash as you turn your anger against God and allow such words to leave your mouth? What is man that he should be pure, or one born of woman that he should be righteous? If God puts no trust in his holy ones, and the heavens are not pure in his sight, how much less one who is revolting and corrupt, who drinks injustice like water? Now they're kind of making some, I don't know where they would be getting this stuff from. Listen to me, and I will inform you. I will describe what I've seen. Now this should be good. What was declared by wise men, and what is not suppressed by their ancestors. The land was given to them alone when no foreigner passed among them. And a wicked man writhed in pain all his days. Only a few years are reserved for the ruthless. Now, really, that's simply not true. When we get to the the Psalms, we're going to see David's going to express the opposite. It seems like, man, it seems like the wicked get away with everything. Verse 21, a wicked man writhed in his pain all his days. Only a few years are reserved for the ruthless. Dreadful sounds fill his ears. When he is at peace, a robber attacks him. He doesn't believe he will return from darkness. He is destined for the sword. He wanders about for food, saying, "Where is it?" He knows the days of darkness is at hand. Troubles and distress terrify him, overwhelming him like a king prepared for battle. Now, what is interesting, of course, Job is suffering like they're describing, except Job is not wicked. Job was righteous, and he's suffering this. The very thing that they're saying, hey, Job is suffering, is because, remember, they don't have the benefit of chapters 1 and 2. Verse 25. Verse 24 again. Trouble and distress terrify him, overwhelming him like a king prepared for battle. For he has stretched out his hand against God and arrogantly opposed the Almighty. He rushes headlong at him with his thick, studded shield. Though his face is covered with fat and his waistline bulges with it, he will dwell in ruined cities and abandoned houses destined to become piles of rubble. He will no longer be rich. His wealth will not endure his possessions, and will he not increase in the land. He will not escape from the darkness. Flames will wither his shoots, and by the breath of God's mouth he will depart. Let him not put trust in worthless things, being led astray. For what he gets in exchange will prove worthless. It will be accomplished before his time, and his branch will not flourish. He will be like a vine that drops its unripened grapes, and like an olive trees that shed its blossom. For the company of the godless will have no children, and the fire will consume the tents of those who offer bribes. They conceive trouble and give birth to evil. Their room prepares deception. I can imagine them saying, "Sound like anyone, Job?" Right? Chapter 16, verse 1 says, Then Job answered, I have heard many things like these. You are miserable comforters. And that's really true right here. What is the most amazing thing is why they are so irritated and bothered by Job's anguish. Okay? Verse 3. Is there no end to your empty words? First of all, why are these words empty? I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, Job is accusing them of having empty words. Okay, I forgot. Okay, Job is accusing them. Is there no end to your empty words? They are empty because they don't have all the facts. What provokes you that you continue testifying? If you were in my place, I could also talk like you. I could string words together against you and shake my head at you. Now, this is kind of interesting because when you are suffering, you do feel alone. And in this case, you have people like his friends who are miserable comforters attacking him. Verse 5, Instead, I would encourage you with my mouth, and the consolation from my lips would bring relief. Now, I think this is a great lesson for us when we sometimes see people suffering. And one, if you don't know all the facts, you certainly should not be lodging. And I think probably one of the, we shouldn't be accusing. Like I say, if we don't know, and And certainly, we shouldn't be invoking God. But notice what he says right here. I would encourage you with my mouth. The consolation of my lips will bring relief. That's what you should be seeking to do when people are in suffering. Verse 6. Even if I speak, my suffering is not relieved. And if I hold back, what have I lost? Surely he has now exhausted me. You have devastated my entire family. Now remember, this is true. You have shriveled me up. It has become a witness. My frailty rises up against me and testifies to my face. His anger tears at me. He harasses me. He gnashes his teeth at me. My enemy pierces me with his eyes. Now I'm wondering if he's referring to his friends right now, who are just kind of just acting like enemies. They open their mouths against me and strike my cheeks with contempt. They join themselves together against me. God hands me over to unjust men. He throws me into the hands of the wicked. Now that's true, right? That's exactly what happened to him. That all of these wicked men stole all of his wealth, took all of his goods, his wealth, the cattle, everything. Verse 12, I was at ease, but he shattered me. He seized me by the scruff of the neck and smashed me into pieces. He sets me up as his target. His archers surround me. He pierces my kidneys without mercy, pours my bile on the ground. He breaks through my defense again and again. He charges me like a warrior. I have sewn sackcloth over my skin. I buried my strength in the darkness. My faith has grown red with weeping, and darkness covered my eyes. Although my hands are free from violence, and my prayer is pure. Earth, do not cover my blood. May my cry for help find no resting place. Even now, my witness is in heaven, and my advocate is with the heights. My friends scoff at me as I weep before God. I wish that someone might arbitrate between a man and God. Now, this arbitrate, we could say here, let's substitute the word mediate. And yes, this is kind of a foreshadowing because Jesus mediates between God and man. I wish someone would arbitrate between a man and God, just as a man pleads for his friends. For only a few years will pass before I go the way of no return. Chapter 17. My spirit is broken. My days are extinguished, and the graveyard awaits me. Now, when he says my spirit is broken, when we get to the book of Proverbs, Solomon will utter that a man can be wounded, right? He could be severely wounded and survive. But then he will say, how can a broken spirit, how can you survive that? Verse 2, surely mockers surround me, and my eyes must gaze at their rebellion. Now, obviously, right, he's talking about his friends who are there. Make arrangements, put up security for me. Who else will be my sponsor? You have closed their minds to understanding. Therefore, you will not honor them. If a man informs on his friend for a price, the eyes of his children will fail. He has made me an object of scorn to the people. I have become a man people spit at. My eyes have grown dim from grief, and my whole body has become a shadow. The upright are appalled at this, and the innocent are roused against the godless. Yet the righteous person will hold to his way, and the one whose hands are clean will grow stronger. But come back and try again, all of you, and I will not find a wise man among you. My days have slipped by, and my plans have been ruined. Even the things dear to my heart, they turned night into day, and made light seem near in the face of darkness. If I wait Sheol, if I await Sheol as my home and spread out my bed in darkness. Now, in verse 13, the term Sheol, remember, is the grave. That the word Sheol means grave. And also remember, they cannot look. They from the perspective, human perspective, they cannot, in terms of Revelation, see past the grave. So listen what he says about here, verse 13. If I await Sheol as my home, spread out my bed in darkness, and say to corruption, you are my father, and to the maggot, my mother or my sister, where then is my hope? Who can see any hope for me? Will it go down to the gates of Sheol, or will we descend together to the dust? Now, remember, this is their way of this is their way of let me see, do I want to go? This is their way of or I should say their view, okay, their view. Now, it is something here that is kind of amazing to me. It is something that's amazing to me. I'm debating if I'm going to go to the next chapter here. I think I will. Okay. This is Bildad's response to Job. Verse chapter 18. Then Bildad the Shunammite replied, how long until you stop talking? Show some sense, and then we can talk. Why are we regarded as cattle and as stupid in your sight? Well, because you're kind of speaking without knowledge. But I digress. You who tear yourself in anger, should the earth be abandoned on your account? Or a rock be removed from its place? Now, again, this is kind of astounding, their response to a man who has lost everything. This is astounding. Verse 5, yes, the light of the wicked is extinguished. The flame of the fire does not glow. The light of his tent grows dark, and the lamp beside him is put out. He is powerful. His powerful stride is shortened, and his own schemes trip him up. For his own feet lead him to the net, and he strays into a mesh. A trap catches him by the heel, and a noose seizes him. A rope lies hidden for him on the ground, and snares wait for him along the path. Terrors frighten him on every side and harass him on every step. His strength is depleted. Disaster lies ready for him to stumble. Parts of his skin are eaten away. Death's firstborn consumes his limb. He is ripped from the security of his tent and watched away by king's terror. Nothing he owned remained in his tent. Burning sulfur scattered over his home. His roots below dry up, and his branches above are wither away. All memory of him perish from the earth. He has no name anywhere. He is driven from light to darkness, and chased from the inhabited world. He has no children or descendants among his people, no survivors where he used to live. Those in the west are appalled at his fate, while those in the east tremble in horror. Indeed, such is the dwelling of the unjust man, and this is the place of the one who does not know God. Now remember, they're kind of addressing this towards Job. In other words, remind you of anyone, Job? And again, the error of them is that they have no clue, and they're yet speaking this. It kind of shows us, too, that you can have wisdom with no sense. You can have wisdom without having wisdom, okay? All right, don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to BP, the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought or comment, add it to the comments section below. All comments are welcome. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. See you next time.